Today we are going to look at getting you fit for skiing using a foam roller. Now this is a melt roller. It's a little bit smaller in diameter than the traditional roller and it's softer. So I much prefer to use this for some muscle release techniques that we're going to use just because it's gentler on the tissue. So we're going to take your roller, you're going to sit on it. So we're going to start today just by doing some decompression techniques, just to release any tension that might be sitting in your pelvis, your low back, and your hips. I don't know about you, but sometimes at the end of the day of skiing, or even partway through the first couple of runs, I start to really feel any tension in my hips. So I'm just rocking forward and back on my sits bones here. And just getting some hydration into where the glutes and the hamstrings cross over the hip joint. Nice long spine, using my fingers to support me. And then I'm going to bring my sits bones to the foot side of the roller, and I'm going to scoop with my abdominals, tuck under a little bit, lightly bring my arms down. My hands are placed about as wide as the roller, and then using my feet and my core for support, I'm just going to glide up and down on my sacrum. Just bringing some nice hydration up into the SI joint and low back area. And then I'm going to tip my knees to one side and I'm just going to swirl around there. So I'm just getting some nice blood flow and circulation as well as muscle release in the glute as it inserts to the sacrum. And then I'll swirl around to the other side. Good. So I always like to release things before I try and activate them, because if something's already tight, you're not going to get much benefit from any kind of strength work that you'll do because it's already tight. You can't strengthen what's tight. I'm just going to move up a little bit. So I'm just going to hang out here. I'm going to bring for me, this is my right hand on my right knee, and I'm going to let this hip fall out, and I'm just going to go into what I call my deep hip. So I'm just bumping up here against my greater trochanter, that bone right here, and getting into our deep external hip rotators. And then I'm just going to pause and just open and close my hip here. That feels so good. And then just take a breath in and exhale. Straighten your leg up, come down onto your forearm, tip over onto your side. And now we're in what we call our side hip, where we're gliding still on the pelvis. So I'm stopping before I come off the pelvis, and I'm stopping before I come onto the greater trochanter. And you just want to look for any points that feel a little bit tender. You want to make sure you feel some tolerable pain. So it's not so much that you're tensing up. You want to make sure you're maintaining a sense of relaxation and breath. Once you find a spot that feels a little tender, you don't want to barrel over it. You really just want to bump up against it, just like you're kneading it out. And then we're going to hold there, and we're just going to rock forward and back. And everything we do here, it doesn't take much time, about 3 breaths. We want to get in and get out. If it's feeling good, you're welcome to stay and hang out a little longer. But we're going to wait, take a breath, and exhale. And then we're just going to come up and over to the other side. So we're going to open this hip. I have my other hand just helping to stabilize. Notice I'm sitting a little bit more up on top of the roller. I'm not way back here, so that I can get up more into my deep hip, or a little closer into the sits bone. And again, as I'm doing this, I'm looking for anything that feels just a little tender. And I want to focus on that spot. And once I found something, I'll stay there for just a few easy breaths. And then I'm going to stop and just open and close this hip to fan it. Good. I do this, we're focusing on ski exercises today, but I always do this before I go out for a run or a cycle, or I use it as recovery. It's really fantastic. So pause, take a breath, and exhale. Then you're going to straighten the leg out, come down onto your forearm, roll onto your side, and now we're in what we call your side hip. So with the side hip, we're looking at your gluteus medius, your minimus, your piriformis, and go exploring. Tip forward a little bit, explore a little higher up on the pelvis, explore a little down. If you don't find much there, just tip back enough and just explore, right? Play with the movement. We want to be a little bit free-flowing in the perspective of looking for what's going on in your body. And then we're going to stop and just rock your hip forward and back on the roller. Good. And then you wait. You take a focused breath in, and then you exhale and come down. So we're just going to do a little hamstring and quad. So we're going to lie down on your back, and you're just going to let your legs be heavy on the roller. So I've got the roller up close to my glutes, but it's still on my hamstring. And what I'm doing here is I'm opening my hips and turning my hips in. So I'm doing this external and internal rotation. So this is, again, another lovely one because it's really helping to bring some hydration up into the pelvis and low back. So if you feel any tightness there, it's getting mobility in your hips, as well as now we're getting some really nice contact a little bit with the outer hip and the inner hip. And then we're going to wait. Take a breath in and exhale. And then we'll move it down to mid hamstrings and do the same thing. So cover as much ground as you can. I mean, we can spend, I've got some great videos where I'm actually using the mount method and we're specifically targeting inner thigh and outer hip. Today, I just want to use this as a warm-up before we go into some strength moves. And then we wait, take a breath in and exhale. And then we'll do one more point, lower hamstring. Make sure you're on the muscle, not on the back of the knee. We never want to shear on a joint. There's just too many surface area nerves in the back of the knee. So we want to be on the thigh and really, again, turning out and turning in, getting as much motion in your hips as you can, but also getting some contact with the outer hip and the inner hip. And then we wait there, take a breath in, and exhale. Good. So we're going to roll onto our side and come up. And then I just want to do quads because skiers are very, very quad dominant. So I'm going to bring the roller just in front of my knees. I'm going to come forward onto my forearms. Now what I want you to notice, right now the roller is just above my knee, but my pelvis is up. Notice it's not sinking down here where I'm putting pressure on the low back. We want to get your hips up and shoulder girdle strong. And then between my toes and my forearms, I'm just rocking forward and back just about 2 inches above my knees. And then I'm going to tip my heels over to one side. So I'm getting a little bit of the outer hamstring on one leg, quads, and a little bit of the more medial on the other side. And we come back to center and rock. People don't usually have too hard a time finding some tender spots here. There's a lot of stuck stress that lives in our front of thigh. And so we just like to explore the whole area. When we come back to center, you can just rock your heels side to side. So there is some upper body work, some abdominal work here. This is not something I would give to someone that didn't have the core strength and upper body strength to support their body. We wait, take a focused breath in, and exhale. And then we're going to rock back a little. So you're going to be now mid-thigh. And I'm just going to hit 3 points with you today here. But if you're feeling like there's a lot of tension and tenderness in the quads, you can spend 5-10 minutes on the hamstrings, 5-10 minutes on the quads, and just kind of hang out and do this gliding. I'm tipping my heels over to one side, and then come back, and then tip to the other side. So it's nice when we can get both done at one time. Notice again, my alignment, so important always. Where's our alignment? Where's our stability? Keeping my pelvis and ribs and head nicely stacked. They're related to each other. Oh yeah, feeling that outer quad right now, yikes. And then we're just gonna rock side to side like so. And then we wait, take a breath in and exhale. Good, and then I'm gonna pick one more spot. And I'm just going to head right to the outer quad because that one I can really feel has some stress in there. It's feeling tight. It's feeling a little bit lumpy. But it's not so much that I'm not able to breathe through it. So if something is making you hold your breath, we call them eye poppers, tip over to the other side, then rather than going right through it, I just want you to edge up against it because you'll do a lot of good in releasing that If you do that, just edge up against it. And then we come to center and we'll just go into our here. Lovely. All right, so again, just beautiful work. We can make the decompression really your whole session, but I want to give us a well-rounded ski fit session today. So I'm going to have you open your knees a little wider than your hips and curl your toes under. Always take advantage to stretch the feet out any chance that I get, just to really get those toes stretched out, the feet opened up. And we're just going to go into a little bit of a stretch here, just opening, lengthening through your ribs and your spine, and then rounding your back and lengthening. So as much as we want to build strength and power for skiing, we also need mobility. If we're stiff and tight between our ribs and pelvis, feel stiff in the low back, we're going to be restricted in how relaxed and stable we can be when we're skiing. So really getting that nice, easy motion. My shoulders are relaxed and just letting my spine move the roller all the way through. Lovely. And then bringing it all the way up. So I'm going to place my left knee onto the roller and my right foot forward. Now, one of the important pieces with any sport, but we're talking about skiing today, is that we're able to get the glute activation. A challenge I'm finding with a lot of people is they're so quad dominant that they're not actually using the hamstrings and the glutes. So I just want you to play here with just sort of rocking forward and pushing into your front foot and a little extra pressure into the heel. And see if you can feel that in the glute and the upper hamstring. It might take a little bit to wake that up, but all we're doing is just rocking forward, pressing into the heel and coming back. Because we can do lunges for days, but if all we're using is our quad, if we're not getting the firing or the activation of the glutes, we're kind of missing it, right? The glutes is one of the strongest muscles, or the most powerful muscle in our body. And sometimes we don't have access to it because we sit a lot all day, and we're really cutting off the blood flow and supply and connection of the nervous system. So as you start to feel that, maybe this is as far as you get for the first couple of times you do this, but then we can start to come up and then down a little lower. So I'm getting some really nice hip stability work. I'm getting some good strong leg work. I'm moving through my feet and ankles. But what I really want you to focus on is getting that glute activation. So you're pressing into the heel. So you're really getting that sense of the glutes lifting you up. So on this next one, we're going to stand all the way up. So you're going to press into your heel. You're going to come up and balance. Great. Okay, so let's take the other leg back. So we'll find our position. You're just on the knee or a little bit on the calf. If being right on the knee is uncomfortable. Roller's nice and soft, so it feels good. Check your alignment that your foot's lined up from the center of your hip. Your toes are curled under. And then we just want to practice that rock, that getting that weight pressing down, your foot pressing down into the mat. And then get some energy down into your heel, and you want to connect that to your glute. If it's sort of feeling like, I don't know if I'm in it, well, you'll know if you're in it. So if you're asking, you're probably not yet in the right pathway. But put your hand there and just tap a little bit. All right? Ask your brain to pay attention to that spot. Watch that you're not curling your toes in, that you're really using the whole foot, but then getting into the heel, like getting that pressure of the heel into the floor. And then as you feel the glute, you can start to make that motion a little bit bigger. Now, notice my torso. I'm keeping my spine nice and long. I'm keeping my core engaged so that I'm using my abdominals to lift as I press into my heel and access my glute. So your core, your torso, in Pilates we call it your powerhouse, helps to carry the legs and feet, but your glutes are part of that powerhouse. So we want to press and access it. Let's just do one more like this. And on the next one, we're going to stand all the way up. Are you ready? Take a breath. Exhale, press through your heel, come up and find your balance. Very nice. All right. So now we're going to take the roller. I'll just stand this way. And we want our feet about as wide as the roller. Now, if you're short like me, the whole width of the roller might be just a little too much. So you can play with what feels good. But what I'm looking at is getting this external rotation of the hips. Just like you to see my position here. On this one, I'm not squatting and getting my butt back. I actually want to keep my pelvis right underneath me. My hips are turned out, and my knees and feet are following that exact same line. So you really want to watch, especially if you're tight in the hips, that you don't have your feet turned out more than your hips. So it starts here. Right, we want to open the hips, then the knees and feet follow that line. So that's really important here. And then we want to keep your pelvis right underneath you. Now place your hands to the outside of your thigh, and just from your hip, press the outer thigh in towards your hands. So you're really working on getting that connection of the thigh sort of pressing out and rolling under. And then we're just going to plie down. And as you plie down, again, it starts from the turnout of the hips, and your knees are staying right over top of your feet. So again, you want to check that you're not letting the knees roll in. Really open through the hips. You can slide your hands, right? You can always do this motion here where you're encouraging the hips to open. Or again, what I like is pressing my thighs out. And wow, if you don't have that little quiver, again, we want to be in that nice deep pathway. And so we're working on the glute strength here. Yes, there is legs, absolutely, but getting that turnout and pressing your thighs out into your hands. And how we use our feet, pressing into your heels, pressing into your heels as your hips open and the thighs spiral out. We're getting some deep, deep work in our hip rotators and in our glutes and in our core and the inner thigh. So let's just do a few more here. Opening the hips. So really pay attention. You're not just going down and up. You're spiraling out. You're using the lateral rotators, their external rotators of the hips. Woo, and bring it up and shake it out. Awesome. Good job. Okay, so now we're going to do a little bit of core and mid-back activation, and we're going to use the roller. So we're going to bring the roller right under your pelvis. This is one of my favorite planking exercises because it gets you in the right position and deep. So toes are curled under once again. The roller is between your pubic bone and the top of your pelvis, right in the middle there. And then I'm going to take my arms and place them shoulder width apart. But now I want to focus on the motion here so that I get access into my lats. So from my shoulders, I'm going to externally rotate. Now what you want to really be mindful is that you're not doing this with the hands. From the shoulders here, I externally rotate, and that causes this motion here. So the movement's not from the lower butt, the lower arm, it's from the shoulders. So we're getting into that shoulder stability, which is really important for pulling, that we have that shoulder stability. So when we're in that external shoulder rotation, my forearms are more, or my hands are wider than my shoulders. From here, I want to pull my elbows down and in. So I'm creating a tension, and I'm lifting and lengthening. I'm really visualizing my sternum coming forward and growing out through the crown of my head. So my lats are engaged as my elbows are drawing in like a V, as lengthening my spine and sternum forward. I'm going to take a breath in. As we exhale, we straighten the knees, and now pull those elbows in, draw belly to spine, and hover your pelvis. Notice my pelvis is lined up with my ribs, my shoulders, and my head. I take another breath in. Keep pulling the elbows in. As you exhale, draw belly to spine as your elbows pull in on that V line. And then we bring your pelvis down and your knees down. Good. So again, check the shoulders, externally rotate in the shoulders. Pull the elbows down in the V-line. That really helps to activate the lats and your abdominals together. Actively pull belly to spine, check in, straighten the knees, take a breath, exhale, pull the elbows in, draw belly to spine, and hover your pelvis. Again, notice the alignment. This is where this is so brilliant. Thank you, Sue Hitzman of the Melt Method. Bringing the pelvis in line with the ribs and the head as you pull the elbows in and draw belly to spine, bring it down and rest. Good. We'll do one more, and you're welcome to pause the video and do more, but when you get into this right, you don't need to do a lot. Shoulders externally rotate. Elbows pull in. Lengthen your sternum through the crown of your head. Draw belly to spine. Take a breath. As you exhale, knees extend, pelvis lifts. Keep with the breath, shoulders down, abdominals in as you breathe. Keep that energy of the elbows pulling in, belly pulling to spine. Breathe in, breathe out. Bring it down and rest. Ooh, that's a good one. So 3-4 reps of that, and we're pretty much set. All right. So we just want to do a little side hip here. I'm going to take the roller under my foot. We want to focus on glute med, but we also want to make sure that we're staying open and long through the hip. So you can just start to move the roller a little bit. Notice I'm initiating from my pelvis. I'm reaching from my pelvis, and I can feel how my bottom waist lifts, and then I lift from my pelvis and I'm shortening. We're going to reach the leg away and the pelvis away, and we're going to hold that position. So the pelvis is what we call stacked. Your abdominals are in. I can feel my waist lifted off the mat, and we want to keep this length. This arm can be reaching out front just to help hold your position. And with the bottom leg, bring it up, and you want to feel that you're more weighted on the side of your thigh than on the hip. So we're tipped slightly forward. So again, reach the pelvis, you're tipped slightly forward with the arm in front. Take a breath in. As you exhale, think of that leg reaching just a little longer as it lifts. My foot is relaxed, and then I bring it in. Keep that reach from the hip, lengthen it away, and lift. So I'm making sure that my hip is open, and I'm lifting from my side hip, and I bring it down. Again, lengthen the hip away, lift the leg, hold. I haven't lost that shape. I'm keeping that length, that stack. I'm slightly tipped forward, and I bring it down. Again, lengthen the roller away as the leg lifts. I'm keeping my foot relaxed and down. Now this time, reach the leg away, hold it up, and little pulses, using your breath. And exhale, exhale, exhale. That's it. 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold, take a breath, keep reaching, keep that length, and bring it all the way down. Again, reach the roller away, lift the leg up, hip is open, glute is active, I'm lifted through my waist, I'm always checking, and little circles around and around and around with the breath. That's it. Strong hips are going to help you on the slopes, I promise you that. And around, and 4, and 3, and 2, and 1, and bring it down. Good. Tuck your legs in. Let's wrap the bottom arm around you and place the top hand down. We're just going to press up, throw a little tricep exercise in there. So even though skiing is predominantly a lower body exercise, the upper body carries us. We need strength in the upper body. If you've ever fallen in deep slow, we need strength in the upper body to get up. Plus to be able to carry our equipment, manage ourselves on the slope. So always make sure that you're working your whole body, even if your sport is predominantly in one area of your body. So I'm bending my elbow and pushing. Good, and we'll just do 2 more here. and up. Good. And up. Excellent. All right, let's do the other side. So we're going to take the roller. We're going to place the ankle or the foot on the roller. The bottom leg is tucked up. You want to tip your hip slightly forward so you're weighted more on the side of thigh than your hip, and you can reach your arm forward. Let's just get our pelvic position established first. So we're going to hike the hip and then reach. Hike the hip and reach, and hike and reach. Now hold that reach. So you're feeling the length here. Your ribs are down, but your waist is off. And now take a breath, and as you exhale, think of that leg reaching the roller away just a little bit more, and then you lift. We want the hip open. So the leg is a little bit behind you, and the effort is in the glute, in the side hip. And then we lower it down. Again, lengthen the leg away, hold it up. Foot is relaxed. Feel the core engaged to help hold your torso in that nice neutral position, and then lower it down. Lengthen the leg away and lift. Pause for a breath, and then lower it down. Inhale, reach the leg away. Exhale to lift. Pause for an inhale. And the most important thing is that you're breathing, that there's this flow of breath. So if you like to exhale up and inhale down, you can do it in a 2 breath. The important thing is that your breath and movement help work in a flow together. And down. This time we're going to hold it up. So you're lengthening away, keeping your core engaged, and little lifts up, up. Again, feel, is that hip open? Are you lifting from the glute, from the hip? We're keeping the length on the side. We want to watch that if the glute is fatiguing, that we're not defaulting and shortening in the waist. You're better to stop and focus on the quality of the motion. And let's just do 2 and 1 and bring it down. Good work. All right, it doesn't take long to fatigue this guy. Reach that roller away, reach the hip away, hold it up, and then back and around. And I like to think of my glutes taking my leg back and around, and then my abdominals are the support on the other side. Again, foot is relaxed and heavy so that I'm really focusing what's happening in my hip. And we go 4, keep the breath flowing, 3, 2, and 1, and bring it in. Nice work. Give that a little love. Awesome. Pat it out. So we're going to do a little tricep here. Bring the bottom arm, wrap it around, place this hand here, and then we push up and down. So we want to watch that we're just moving from the elbow, that we're not getting tense up in the shoulders. Good. And so we bend and push, and bend and push. Easy breath as we go. And up. Good. And we'll just do 3 more. That's it. 2. Good. And 1. And bring it down. So let's just give your legs a little stretch. Open it. Give your little hug. Our glutes worked hard today. Take your arms out to the side and just take your lower body over to one side. And focus on your pelvis reaching away from your ribs and breathing into the expansion on the lengthened side of your body. Take another breath in and exhale. Draw belly to spine. Use your core to bring the legs up and take them over. Opposite shoulder is down. You're reaching your pelvis away from your ribs. Take a breath in and exhale. Good. Take your legs over to the side and we sit up. So just a little quick ski fit workout for you. Lots of different things we can do to get you ready for the slopes, but all you need on this one is just your body, the floor, and a roller. So I hope you found that helpful, and happy fitness, and here's to a great ski season.